Valorant. Valorant is an online FPS shooter, competitive shooter that I play quite frequently. A bit too much sometimes. Being a game designer, being a programmer and a 3D modeler, I thought, hey, let's make it. Not the full game. I do not have the time or energy for that, but if I look at individual abilities in the game and see if I can recreate them. Now I use Unreal Engine 5. I'm looking at the Boom Bot, which is one of Raze's main abilities. I quite like the idea of getting that working in Unreal. I've looked online and I can't see anyone else that's recreated it so far, so I thought it'd be quite a good one to start with. These videos I'm going to put out will hopefully go through quite a lot of the abilities and try and recreate them. I like to make them look nice and flashy. You know, I like use a bit of Blender, use a bit of Unreal Engine 5, some Niagara, particle effects and things going in there. So I like the game that much that the abilities are quite interesting to me. So I want to sort of go and recreate them in Unreal Engine. So then you guys can take that away and do what you want. Now I'll probably put the files for this into the bottom in the description below, so you can check them out and download them as you please. Give them a go and look through my programming. Judge it if you will. It could be very lazy programming. It could be good. I don't know how it's going to turn out. The main thing I need to start off with is think about how I'm going to do the functionality. So first of all, what I need to do is look at the actual thing I'm copying. So I've hopped onto Valorant. I'm looking through and I'm seeing how the Boom Bot works. Mainly looking at the different functionalities and the different things that it does. So the first thing is that you'll drop it in front of you and you apply that and you drop it onto the floor. It'll then take its own path ahead of you forward. Now it only goes in straight lines. When it hits a surface, it reflects off of that surface. So it'll bounce off a wall and bounce and ricochet along until it eventually will die. It's got a bit of a timer. So we need to look at how long it lives for. We need to figure out how to get it to bounce off the walls. We also need to get it to find a player. So as soon as a player comes into contact or comes into a certain area around the Boom Bot, usually in front of it, I'm pretty sure that's how it works, it sees the player, plays a little indicator and runs at them as fast as it can and then blows up. Doesn't kill them, it doesn't deal a great deal of damage, but it does enough to sort of harm someone. So they're the basic bits of functionality we need to figure out. Locomotion, movement, reflection, bouncing, timed death, and then tracking an enemy player and blowing up. So I need to look at getting the programming in Unreal Engine working for that. So let's have a look and see what we can do. So basically I tried to start off by using behavior trees and AI because, I thought that might work the best. And it didn't. I ended up staying up until about 2:45 in the morning, which is great. Very fun time. It just wouldn't work. As you can see, it would go into a wall and just fucking jitter around like a nutcase. Anger. So I scrapped that idea completely. And went for a lesser option that I knew would definitely work for the idea of the thing, but it was using ticks, so it was using a tick event, which isn't the most efficient way of doing things. It mainly sort of uses each frame as a calculation and does it every frame. So if this was to be used in competitive game, it probably wouldn't work very well because PCs have different frame rates. Wouldn't be very good, but it worked. So initially it was constantly firing off a movement input at a speed that I could set by a float, going in one solid direction, so straight forward, getting the forward vector of that. Now, it would do that, it would constantly do that, so every time it would also move forward, it would also shoot out a line trace. That line trace would hit the wall once it collided with the wall, and from that, there's a certain node called get reflection vector, which is really, really cool. So that basically got the reflection vector from the line trace. So wherever the line trace hit, it got the direction that the Boom Bot needed to go in, so it would reflect off the wall. So that was that working, kind of, a little bit, until it stopped working. It bounced off a wall once, and that was it. So that was just killing me, and I struggled for about 3 days to get this working. Now I know how to do it. So that's good. That's one thing. But it became a real pain in the arse to actually get working properly. So once I got the movement down, it was bouncing off walls constantly. I had to set a lifespan, so I looked up on Google, I looked up the stats for the Boom Bot, and it came up that it lasts for 10 seconds before it poofs away, and that's all the information I needed. The rev up time was about 0.6 seconds, so I made sure that when you drop it down, it doesn't drop for 0.6 seconds. So it doesn't really feel like much, but it's something. It makes it more realistic to what the actual thing is. I got all of the movement working, and my little box with an arrow sticking out of it, a little Steve down there. he was driving around and he was, the functionality was working properly. So now it's more or less an aesthetic thing. The functionality was there and you could use it, and you could probably sit there and replicate it because you're only spawning in a new actor, so that actor needs to replicate it. So if you wanted to use this for an online game, you probably could, but like I said, the tick, a tick event might not be the best for that. So at this point, I started to model a Boom Bot. Now, I haven't modeled in a while. I teach modeling, but I haven't actually gone in and modeled anything. So I got halfway through this model, hated it as per usual, and then decided to scrap that and go online and find a Boom Bot model online. It has an STL file that I just converted into an FBX. I rigged it up, animated it, got a few animations. So I got a dropping animation, got a bouncing off the wall animation, and an explosion animation. I've also made it so that when it runs and finds you, it glows red, so you know that it's chasing you. It speeds up and it jumps at you. So that was a really cool thing to have, because obviously in the game it runs up to you. When it gets to a certain radius around you, I think it's 250 or 2.5 meters, I think it was. That's the distance it said. It'll jump up at you and sort of attack you and blow up. All I had to do was rig this up, animate it, and then bring it into Unreal. I built a animation blueprint for it, got the speed of it, so once it was going forward, it would play the walking speed animation. Once it had exploded, it does the little explosion animation that it does. And then what I had it to do as well is I brought in a new mesh. I broke it all up and applied physics to all of the different bits, so that when it blows up, it spawns a new actor. Now, I could have done this with particle systems, but I am absolutely shocking with particles on Niagara, so that's something I'd probably learn for later on. It would make it a lot more efficient, just using some meshes for a particle effect instead. I went onto the marketplace and found some free VFX packs and used that for some of the explosions. So when it does explode, it'll blow up. As well as that, once the debris spawns, it'll then spark a little bit. So it gives you those little bits of extra depth when it does that. So at this point, it was finished. So you can see here now it's running around. You can chuck it away. You can chuck as many as you want. Now they do set each other off. After a few tweaks, this thing should be ready to move. So that's the last thing to do now, and then it'll be ready to go, and I might do a little cinematic with it or something, I don't know. But yeah, brilliant. So there we have it. That is the Boom Bot recreated in Unreal 5. Obviously, I know that Valorant is made in Unreal Engine, but so it should be pretty easy to replicate, but I thought I'd just give it a go and see if I can get close to how I think they might have programmed it. Now, I don't think I have gone anywhere near what they've done at Riot. I think they went down the behavior tree route, because those ticks are so inefficient in game design. But I want to get something working, something functioning that you guys actually make at home. If you want to make something work and give it a go. And I think this is going to be the only one I've seen out there that recreates it. So it's something to go off. You can always go and take it in your own way. Like I said, the link to the download of that project file will be down in the description, so you can look at that. If you did enjoy the stuff that we've been doing today and I've been showing you guys, then please sort of like this video. Comment any ideas you've got that you want me to recreate next. Doesn't have to be Valorant, can be anything. I like to challenge myself and recreate stuff. I got a few ideas from Dead by Daylight I want to try. Got some ideas from Overwatch and Valorant again. So loads of stuff that I can actually cover, which is pretty doable in the space and time that I've got, which is great. So if you did enjoy what you've seen today, there'll be plenty more to come from Egress. It's my sort of brand new side project, away from all the other work that I do. Sort of lecturing and teaching. So if you did enjoy that sort of stuff, please support me, please. And I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be hopefully very, very soon.